Introduction to Mountain Breeze and Waves. Chapter 1. Mountain Journey. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Spring is a refreshing season, without the cold of winter, the heat of summer, or the killing of autumn. It brings infinite comfort and happiness to people. The sun shines on the mountain, and after the spring rain, the mountain appears particularly clean. The fragrance of flowers occasionally seeps into the nose, making people unable to resist the joy. Spring is truly a beautiful season. Being able to have such a quiet, clean, and fresh environment in a restless city is truly a kind of enjoyment. The elderly who wake up early, climb up the mountain early. They are light-bodied and walk quickly. They always feel that young people nowadays need to have such a body when they reach their age. The elderly stood on the mountain, looking at the opposite mountain, shouting loudly. The words they shouted were not very organized. Some shouted loudly, "Uhaha," some met common mountain friends and shouted loudly, "Captain." The mountain friend answered loudly, "Noodles." 5 young people were climbing the mountain together, and one of them was a fat man. One of them heard the elderly shouting again, perhaps infected, and shouted loudly, "Wang Xiaohu is a fat man." Suddenly, those 5 people burst out laughing. The people on the mountain are unrestrained, some sing while walking, singing one song after another, but regardless of gender, their voices are loud, and even if you walk up to them, they will not stop at all. Relax both physically and mentally. Walking along the mountain road, I occasionally come across a few little squirrels jumping around. When I see people coming, some climb up trees and some run towards the mountains. The trees on the mountain are unleashing the strength accumulated throughout the winter, their hidden vitality is flourishing, and the green leaves that sprouted overnight slowly turn from tender green to deep. This mountain is not high either. In a short while, I will climb to the mountain road and take a walk along it. If I can stop and find a flat and open area, I can also do boxing and stretch my body. Listening to the cheerful chirping of birds, smelling the pungent aroma, breathing fresh air, and fully stretching one's body, one is on the mountain, one is in the mountains, one is getting close to the mountain, and the mountain is accommodating people. People are already a part of nature. Enjoying the charm of the mountains is not just a great joy in life. Chapter 2. Mountain Breeze. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Enan East stood on the mountaintop, letting the howling mountain breeze blow by, which still had some coolness. In the past few days, the old leader Qian Jiangwo is about to resign. He has been working under Qian Jiangwo's leadership for many years, but the gaps and obstacles in the middle are unforgettable and full of emotions. Indiana is 40 years old this year. The ancient said that at 40, there is no doubt, not at all false. After experiencing years of ups and downs, it has gradually matured. At times, Indian himself was also puzzled that so many years had passed in a blink of an eye. The children had grown taller, almost as tall as their own mothers, and they lived away year after year, with seasons flowing like water. Just last night, Qian Jiangwo invited Yin Antong to a banquet. It was Li Guang, the chairman of the former unit of General Qian, who invited him and also called for Yin Antong. There were a total of 8 people at the banquet. In addition to these 3, there were also Mr. Qian's old classmate Dong Wenhai, Wang Xiaoming, the branch manager under Chairman Li Guanlai, a project manager Ji Zhen, and a lady named Xilinglong, who seemed to have the surname Mi. Although Ji Zhen introduced her name twice, everyone called her Xiaomi, so Indo Antong didn't bother to remember her name. Qian always said that everyone who came today should have come, and Anton is not an outsider. He has been working with me for many years, and I have retired and have no chance, so I regret not promoting Anton earlier. I have been working together with Mr. Li for a long time, and today Mr. Li's hospitality is hard to resist. He has been telling me for a long time just treating me to a meal, and I apologize for gesturing to Mr. Li. Li Guanlai said, "Mr. Qian said that although you have been away from Huajian for many years, your feelings have become stronger over time. Although you have retired now, Huajian has always held a grateful heart for you. Wang Xiaoming, Ji Zhen, and Xiaomi are all in agreement. Yes, everyone still remembers the reputation of Mr. Qian's work at Huajian and the support he gave to Huajian after leaving. Thank you, Mr. Qian. Thank you. Yin Anong thinks that Chairman Li Guanglai is really enthusiastic. When Qian was working as the general manager in China, Li Guanglai was still a vice president, and he was 10 years younger than Qian. It seems that Li Guanglai's respect for Qian comes from his heart. Huajian is the largest construction enterprise in Hedong province. Qian Zhangwo served as the general manager of Huajian for 8 years, which was also the fastest and best 8 years of development for Huajian. After that, with the strong leadership of Chairman Lu Bingkai, Qian Zhangwo felt that his ambitions could not be fully realized and gradually began to develop. At this time, Hedong province was about to hold a large-scale sports event, and the construction of sports venues for the event required suitable project commanders. When the recruitment announcement appeared prominently in Qian Zhangwo's vision, Qian Zhangwo had already decided to leave. He seized the opportunity to participate in the venue construction command center. Chapter 3. Night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qian Zhangwo used to work at the construction bureau and has a strong foundation in writing, especially after years of experience in engineering construction and company management. He has rich practical experience in both engineering and enterprise management, and his skills are excellent. No matter what materials he reviews or speeches at the conference, he has more than enough skills. Everyone has no doubt about this. It's really difficult to find someone as comprehensive as managing engineering and enterprises, so Qian Zhangwo came to the command center as if it were tailor-made. Time has been pulled back to 15 years ago. When Qian Zhangwo first came to the headquarters, he was busy with his work. There were many people living but few people. The whole process of urbanization, such as planning, demolition, land transfer and engineering construction, had to be carried out before the Asian Games. This time was really tight. The company's people were all on the front line of project construction except those in finance and personnel. Qian Zhangwo felt unprecedented pressure. After all, time was not waiting. The party committee meeting is currently being held, and party senior official Ma Guoxiang said that today's meeting is to solve the problem of project construction personnel that Mr. Qian has been raising. What should we do? Everyone expressed their opinions. Office Director Zhao Qinglin first said that the construction of the Asian Games venues is currently progressing intensively, but facing numerous difficulties. There are still 7 plots of land that cannot be demolished, including the Depeng textile factory and the provincial military region. As a result, resettlement houses cannot be constructed, roads cannot be connected, and the time is very tight. There is also a series of engineering design bidding and construction work that needs to be promoted. The land needed for venue construction and the houses in the village have not been demolished, and this compensation has been allocated to the district. From the current operation of the command center, it appears that there is an urgent need to supplement management personnel at each port. Vice President Li Lusheng, who is in charge of petition work, said that the number of complaints from the people has increased significantly, mainly focusing on the compensation for demolition. This requires active cooperation from the district. The people are causing trouble every day, saying that the compensation is not in place, and that the construction standards for resettlement housing are different. Mr. Li spoke endlessly, seeming to have endless grievances. Party official Ma Guoxiang paused and said, "Mr. Li, we won't discuss the details today, let's pick the main ones." Li Lusheng had no choice but to say, "What should I do if I say so much, but there is too much work and too little manpower, and I can't keep up with it." Other comrades also spoke one by one, but it was just that there were too few people and work could not be done, and so on. Qian Zhangwo cleared his throat and slowly spoke. Comrades had just pointed out the problem, and he was clear about the existing problem, which was a shortage of people. Here, I will focus on how to solve human problems. I think there are only 3 ways. One is to transfer personnel, the other is to rely on external forces, and the third is to establish subsidiaries or separate departments. The method of transferring personnel can be considered appropriately, but how can they be transferred in? Comrades in government agencies are unwilling to enter, do not receive much salary, do a lot of work, and are busy without rest days. Overtime at night is the norm, and more importantly, there are always one carrot and one pit, so many suitable units and personnel are not available, which is difficult. Secondly, with the help of external forces, we are currently reporting to the city and striving to invite departments such as planning, land and resources, construction commission, and water and electricity to work together with the command center to coordinate and solve problems on site. As for establishing a subsidiary, it needs to be consistent with the nature of our unit. If this company wants to solve personnel problems, it should be defined as a project management company that openly recruits talents to the society, creating a unit that can do any job and have personnel who can enter and exit. This provides strong support for our project. Senior party official Ma Guoxiang said that Mr. Qian's suggestion is very good, and we still need to carefully study it, especially when it comes to the adaptation of laws and regulations. This work office will take the lead and work together with the personnel department of the comprehensive office to come up with a specific implementation plan, which will be discussed during the meeting. This meeting will be held until 6 p.m. in the early winter. As the weather gradually gets colder, the air in the conference room is mixed with smoke. Occasionally, I hear a sharp cough. As soon as the conference room door opens, a cold wind rushes in, and everyone rushes out. The sky is already dark, and the street lights are also on. Street lights have turned the roads of the city into rivers of lights, and the continuous flow of vehicles flows like water. Chapter 4. Telephone. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Party high-ranking official Ma Guoxiang was smoking one cigarette after another in the office, occasionally coughing uncontrollably. This home is not easy to manage, and the biggest pressure is still on funds. If funds cannot keep up, how can projects be pushed forward? As for human problems, they are still easy to solve as long as they are pushed into society. The air has been bad these days, the sky is gray and the sunlight is also blocked by clouds, making people feel a bit suppressed and irritable. Fortunately, the evergreen trees in the yard are still lush green and not affected by seasonal changes. Ding-ling-ling, the phone rang, and Ma Guoxiang picked up the phone. Director Ma, this is Jiang Wo. Last night, when Zhang Jie from the command center started tracking the garbage truck, he was hit by a car this morning. He is currently in the central hospital. After verification by the hospital, his life is safe, and he has suffered a slight shock to his head and a finger fracture. He is currently stable. Ma Guoxiang replied, fortunately, Zhang Jie's life is not in danger. Let him rest assured for 2 days. I will go to the hospital this afternoon to see him. Also, what is the situation with the garbage truck now? Qian Jiangwo said, it's time to take good care of the garbage trucks. The garbage is disorderly, and if you don't follow traffic regulations, the garbage trucks will scatter seriously along the way. What's even more infuriating is that you have to pay them for transporting the garbage back and forth. Ma Guoxiang couldn't help but pat the table and said, hurry up and form a report on this matter. I will give a brief report to Secretary General Mao first. At this moment, Zhang Jie was lying in the hospital, carefully pondering the situation of the night. Although he had not been noticed while tracking the garbage truck, there was a garbage dump 5 kilometers southwest of the venue, a garbage dump 8 kilometers northwest of the venue, and a small garbage dump 2 kilometers north of the venue, which had just been formed in the past few days. This piece of land was intended to build a Grade 3A hospital location, and dumping garbage there was already prohibited. Unfortunately, I was hit by a car near that dump. Zhang Jie's mind suddenly flashed, and he remembered that there was an off-road vehicle next to the dump in the north that suddenly lit up its headlights. In this flashing moment, a dump truck suddenly rushed over from behind, and he knew nothing about it. It must have been discovered by them. Jean Jie suddenly figured out the details. It seems that he was still careless. Are they warning him? The current transportation of waste soil is carried out by people from that area. Chapter 5. Wind Mouth. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Jean Jie is also lamenting that as the deputy director of the engineering department, he was assigned to the venue project of the Asian Games. As soon as he arrived at this project, the commander-in-chief of the headquarters, Huang Ziyuan, assigned him to be responsible for the earthwork engineering. Thinking of the arrogance of the earthwork team in recent times, as well as their disregard for commands and their carefree behavior, he became infuriated. In my mind, I was still daydreaming when I suddenly realized that my wife had come up to me and startled him. My wife said, "What's wrong? I didn't hear you even after calling you twice." "I'm having a magic spell." "What are you thinking?" "Let's eat quickly. Our mother has specially made bone soup for you. Drink it while it's hot." Opening the lid of the insulation box, the fragrance of bone soup drifted out. Jean Jie couldn't help but sigh. The taste of bone soup today is really fragrant. I have been busy these past few months, and I can't even feel the taste of food. Today, I suddenly smelled the fragrance of bone soup, which is really good. Jean Jie is 38 years old this year and is in a glorious period of his life. He always wants to make a difference, but today's chaos in earthwork engineering has made him more vigilant. If this situation continues, there will definitely be major events. While drinking soup, he said to his wife, "Although I am anxious in the hospital, I have gradually come to a clear understanding. I think it is still necessary to properly manage the methods of earthwork engineering. Only when the methods are formulated can they be easily managed." The wife said angrily, "Why don't you ask about your family or children? You only know about your work. Do your fingers still hurt? Don't touch them, it's not easy to get better." A loud noise echoed outside the door. This is the room. A middle-aged man in a suit, leather shoes, and neat hair walked over with 3 men, none of whom were carrying 2 gift boxes. "Director Zhang, hello. We were all very anxious when we heard that you were hospitalized. How is your body recovering? I didn't expect the injury to be so serious, and you worked too hard. It's really worth learning from." Jean Jie said, "Secretary Yang, who didn't know about you?" "Secretary Yang, more than half of this venue takes up your land. I'm sorry to trouble you to come." Secretary Yang said, "Our village is building an engineering convoy for earthwork transportation. Don't worry, our team dares to fight tough battles. You need to speak for us. Minister Li of the office firmly supports us in making contributions to the construction of the Asian Games and demands that we do the project well." Zhang Jie said, "I hope you can do well, but you must abide by the rules, right?" Secretary Yang said, "You see, these 3 are all economically strong in our village. They participate in the construction of earthworks by investing in shares. As for the rules, we will definitely abide by them. Don't worry, we won't cause any trouble to the leaders." Zhang Jie said, "What should we do now that the dump trucks are littering everywhere and still disobeying management?" Secretary Yang said, "That's not our team. We have always followed the rules and obeyed management. When you are discharged, we will carefully study and study. We are practical. We hope you will take good care of your illness and be discharged as soon as possible. I won't disturb you today. This nutritional supplement will help your body recover." Zhang Jie said, "I know you haven't participated yet, but thank you all for coming to see me." After Secretary Yang and his wife left, he whispered to his wife, "Mark the gifts they brought and I'll handle them when I'm done. It seems like we won't settle down in the future. Before we finish lunch, people will come and we need to find a way." Zhang Jie knows that earthworks are all fat meat. In order to win the project, the earthworks team dares to use any method, searching for connections and entrusting people everywhere. He is currently in this position, and some things are also difficult to handle. It seems that we still need to find a way. Chapter 6. Beauty Visits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Jie stood in front of the window, in the 11th floor ward building, with a panoramic view of the vehicles and people coming and going in the hospital. It was unimaginable that so many people would come to the hospital every day. My wife watched as he finished his meal and went back, taking care of the elderly and children. It wasn't until I fell ill that I realized how busy my wife was, which I had never felt before. The knock on the door rang again, and a tall, slim woman came in with thick makeup, beautiful face, and smiling appearance. A beautiful and connotative woman followed her with a strong smell of perfume. The lady saw Zhang Jie and asked weakly, "May I ask if you are Director Zhang?" Zhang Jie remained silent and nodded. The lady continued, "Zhang, hello. I'm really sorry to bother you. My name is Li Xiaomei. Mr. Tang of our company heard that you were injured and hospitalized. He was in a meeting at the company this afternoon and arranged for me to come and see you. He will come and see you when he's finished." Zhang Jie also wondered which Mr. Tang was. There was a so-called character named Tang San, also known as San Yi, whose original name was Tang Xianyun. Gradually, everyone seemed to have forgotten his real name. Zhang Jie asked, "May I ask what name your company comes from?" Li Xiaomei said with a smile, "Is Zhang a forgetful person or an ignorant newcomer? Our company is a transportation company that transports earthwork from the lake, and our chairman is Tang Xianyun. Isn't our company currently carrying out earthwork construction?" Zhang Jie sighed for a moment, "Isn't this the main host?" Then he spoke up and said, "You are from Mr. Tang's side, I understand." Li Xiaomei proudly said, "Brother Zhang, you're welcome. Mr. Tang has admired you for a long time. After you are discharged from the hospital, Mr. Tang asked me to bring you some consolation money and buy some supplements. Please accept them with a smile." As she said, she was about to put the envelope on the hospital bed. Zhang Jie said seriously, "Manager, please don't do this. If you leave this red envelope today, I either have to take it back for you or turn it in. Thank you for your kindness. Say hello to Mr. Tang on my behalf." Li Xiaomei didn't expect Zhang Jie to refuse, feeling a bit embarrassed. Zhang Jie said, "You don't have to worry about Tang always talking about you. You can explain to him clearly that he will understand. If he doesn't understand, ask him to tell me and I will explain it for you. That's it." Li Xiaomei seemed a bit relieved and reluctantly said, "Brother Zhang, I'm really sorry about that." Zhang Jie saw that the time had come and stuffed the envelope into her bag. Zhang Jie felt like a stone had finally landed. With the sound of Li Xiaomei stepping out, Zhang Jie felt an indescribable relief in his heart. Lying in bed, Zhang Jie pondered whether to switch wards or hospitals, which would make it difficult for him to rest well. If he couldn't, he would go home first. However, now his head occasionally hurts and sometimes he feels dizzy. Hiding is not a solution, let the doctor help you think of a way. Chapter 7. Deployment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While Zhang Jie was still pondering how to avoid those who came to see him, the command center was in a tense meeting, and Huang Ziyuan was sitting in the middle of the podium. Recent work was like a slowly unfolding curtain, with projects emerging one after another. Huang Ziyuan is not only the overall commander of the command center, but also the general manager of the urban development group. When the city formed a command center member, he had to put a lot of effort into thinking. Shandao City is a sub-provincial city in Hedong province, with rapid economic development and rapid urban infrastructure construction. On the one hand, the company has to undertake infrastructure construction tasks, and on the other hand, it also needs to win the tough battle of building Asian Games venues. This year is 2006, and there are still 3 years left until the opening of the sports meet. There are too many things to do in these 3 years. Some people complain a lot, but the real work deployment starts from the meeting, and the real work summary ends at the meeting. From international meetings to family meetings, successful people are generally meeting experts who can hear clearly, speak well, have control, and persuasiveness in the meeting. In fact, meetings are meant to increase the cohesion of attendees, unify their thinking, establish the correct direction, and explore methods and measures to overcome all difficulties. So, meetings are very important, and having a good meeting is even more important. After listening to everyone's reports, the command center personnel also made speeches one by one. Qian Jiangwo summarized and said, "Recently, work has been steadily progressing, but the contradictions in earthwork engineering have become increasingly prominent. There are mainly three problems. First, the progress is slow, and the current external transportation vehicles cannot meet the on-site demand, and excavators and other equipment cannot keep up with it. Second, the urgent need for clarification in the waste soil field. Currently, the phenomenon of disorderly dumping of waste soil is prominent, and efforts must be made to rectify it. The Municipal Urban Management Bureau and Environmental Protection Bureau have reported to the command center multiple times and issued written rectification opinions. Third, when the waste soil truck is in operation, the problem of scattered waste soil is serious, and the tires of the waste soil truck carry the waste soil on the road, and the speed of the waste soil truck is also high. Too fast. Some of these three issues were raised during today's meeting, and I think the key is how to solve them. Recently, the command center has conducted special research and proposed 5 rectification measures. Firstly, the qualification line has been delineated, and all earthwork teams will be re-tendered. Those who do not comply with the contract will no longer be used. Secondly, the contracting relationship will be straightened out, and Party A will determine the earthwork team uniformly, and Party B will sign a contract with the earthwork team. The third is to determine the storage location of waste soil in conjunction with national land, environmental protection, and urban management. The fourth is to contact the traffic police department and conduct a strict inspection of the dump trucks. The fifth is to do a good job in cleaning, and it is strictly prohibited for dump trucks to overload, especially for dump trucks to scatter debris. Organize dedicated personnel to clean the transportation route of waste soil, and set up specialized waste soil truck flushing equipment. That's all I can say about the problem with the dump truck. Huang Ziyuan summarized. Today's meeting has focused on recent work, which has been effective during this period. However, there is still a gap between our goals. Below, I will emphasize 6 points. First, we need to accelerate land demolition work. We need to rely on the district to first demolish all the land for the 3 pavilions, especially the swimming pool area, which must have construction conditions by the end of the year. There are also 2 resettlement housing communities in the north and south of the venue, and the demolition of the above-ground objects in the community needs to accelerate progress, especially for the part involving the auto parts city. This work needs to actively connect with the Peng Bureau in the area. Second, we need to accelerate the planning of the venue area, and accelerate the collection, storage, and transfer of land. It is necessary to accelerate the bidding for venue design, with the basic requirement of global bidding. The fourth is to accelerate land consolidation work, especially the construction of earthwork transportation. Currently, the entire area is estimated to require 10 million earthwork transportation, which is too large, and strong measures must be taken to promote it. I fully agree with the points just mentioned by Mr. Qian, and we will quickly pull out the implementation plan and implement it immediately. The fifth is to coordinate with the Land, Planning, Construction Commission, and other departments within the command center to accelerate the handling of construction procedures. Sixth, the entire command center should unify its thinking, enhance its understanding, and unify its thinking with the decision-making of the Municipal Party Committee in government, striving to improve its understanding and complete the construction task in a race against time. Chapter 8. Preparation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Huang Ziyuan spoke at a steady pace, but his calm tone and clear expression were full of firm power, which impressed the attendees. Is this a kind of aura, a awe-inspiring aura? Only the voice of General Manager Huang was heard in the conference room, and no other voices could be heard. Of course, what the attendees could better understand was the sense of urgency emanating from General Manager Huang towards these tasks. After the meeting, Huang Ziyuan left behind Sun Yongming, the director of the engineering department, alone. Huang Ziyuan said, "The company is planning to establish a project management company, and according to the opinions of the party committee, you will take the lead in handling the establishment of the kilometer. The company office and human resources department will cooperate with you, striving to lay out the company framework within 2 months and start substantive work within 3 months." Sun Yongming gave a bitter smile and then said, "Mr. Huang, I've heard about setting up a project management company, but I didn't expect to do it." Huang Ziyuan smiled and said, "Don't worry, with the support of the company, what are you afraid of? If you need my assistance during this period, please let me know in a timely manner. This matter is quite urgent. I suggest you recruit a few key personnel first, and then gradually enrich them, so it's easier to get started." Sun Yongming was very distressed, wandering around the office, constantly pondering what to do. He turned to look for Huang Ziyuan and asked, "Mr. Huang, you have been working on projects for so many years, so there must be people you recognize. Can you recommend a few? This way, my efficiency can be greatly improved, and I can kick the first step in establishing a company." Huang Ziyuan replied, "I have had contact with several responsible comrades who have left a deep impression on me. Let me think about it first, and we will meet again in the afternoon." Huang Ziyuan looked at Su Yongming's back, with several outstanding young figures constantly flipping back and forth in his mind. These few of them must be fine, they are all people who do things, and their work must be fine. Sun Yongming has been really busy these past few days, busy contacting the 4 people mentioned by Mr. Huang. Song Zhenxiang, Li Xiulin, Wenqing, and Li Mingtao. At first, they didn't know what was going on, and they all did a good job in their positions. They were also very busy, and I felt like they didn't want to talk to me, so I was a bit annoyed. Why is this? What is the name of the new company? This must be considered. First, let the leader choose a few names. When it comes to establishing a company, Tsinghua Group is a public institution. According to the general principles of the civil law of China, there are 2 types of public institutions. Legal person public institutions and non-legal person public institutions. Only legal entities of public institutions can serve as investment entities. According to the implementation measures for the management of non-operating assets to operating assets in public institutions can convert non-operating assets into operating assets for investment, shareholding, joint venture, cooperation, and joint venture in accordance with relevant national policies and regulations, while ensuring the completion of their normal work. However, assets that are allocated by the state finance, subsidized by superiors, and guaranteed to maintain the normal development of the enterprise cannot be converted into operating assets for investment. Therefore, any public institution legal person fully funded by the state may not become a shareholder or initiator of the company, but public institution legal persons approved by the state can invest in and establish companies with operating assets. So there is no problem with the legality of establishing a company. Su Yongming didn't know what was going on and walked back to Huang Ziyuan's office. It wasn't until he entered that he remembered what was going on and wanted Mr. Huang to do the work for those 4 people. Chapter 9. Season. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The roaring machines, noisy crowds, and busy figures create a bustling scenery under the sunset in the sky. Sun Yongming's mind was chaotic, unable to find a clear idea. At this moment, Sun Yongming felt deeply helpless and lost. However, Mr. Huang was not in the office and asked Xiao Ji from the comprehensive office. Xiao Ji said that Mr. Huang had gone to the city for a meeting and would definitely come back before work, and this point would soon come back. Xiao Ji has bright eyes and teeth, fair skin, and a short stature, giving off a feeling of chubby flesh. As soon as he spoke, he revealed his tiger teeth and smiled slightly. Xiaoji had just graduated from the University of Architecture this year and worked at the Fanyuan Supervision Company. He was seconded to the Comprehensive Office of the Command Center, mainly responsible for conference-related work. Xiaoji brewed a cup of tea and asked Sun Yongming to wait in the office for a while. Sun Yongming picked up his teacup and took a sip. The aroma of the tea penetrated his heart and soul, and his restlessness gradually calmed down. At this moment, Mr. Huang walked into the office with big strides and saw Sun Yongming there. He was a bit surprised and asked, "Yongming, is there anything else?" "Wait a moment, I have a few things that I need to arrange first." After speaking, he rushed outside and shouted, "Xiaoji, come here for a moment." After Xiaoji arrived, Mr. Huang arranged, notify Wang Saiping, the leader of the cost contract team, and Qian Jiangwo, the leader of the engineering management team, to come over. "I have something to arrange." Xiaoji gave a crisp response and left. Sun Yongming sat quietly on the sofa waiting, while Huang wrote in his notebook, as if afraid of being suddenly interrupted by others, ignoring Sun Yongming's existence. After a short while, Qian Jiangwo and Wang Saiping walked into the office together. Mr. Huang raised his head and greeted, "Sit down. Yongming, you lean outside and let them sit inside. Let's listen together." Mr. Huang picked up his water glass, blew it twice, and took a sip, as if he wanted to moisten his throat. Then he said, "I called you two over because there are a few things that need to be arranged urgently. Saiping needs to come up with the budget for this year's payment and the project budget for next year." His eyes seemed to be fixed on Wang Saiping, and he said, "How long will it take to get this out?" Wang Saiping pondered for a moment and said, "The funds that need to be paid for this year can be obtained in a week. If the project budget for next year needs to be more accurate, because many of the project contents are not yet clear, it will take about a month." After listening to Wang Saiping, Mr. Huang lightly flicked his finger on the table and said, "At present, the group's funds are tight, and Chairman Ma Guoxiang is trying to find a solution everywhere. Whether it is a loan or a bond issuance has not been determined yet, but these two data are very important. Based on the current situation, it is best to complete them within 2 weeks. The funds that need to be paid this year should be carefully organized and fully considered before the Spring Festival, and the work should be done solidly. The land maturation cost for next year's project budget is all, and the construction should be completed according to the main structure." Qian Jiangwo added, "Next year, we need to consider the entry of some important equipment, and the budget also needs to be included." Mr. Huang said, "Saiping, please carefully discuss with Jiangwo and draw up the bidding plan for the entire project, so that the big framework can be drawn up." Wang Saiping happily replied, "Okay." Mr. Huang said, "Saiping, please contact the finance department of the group to see what kind of financial statements are needed. That's all for your work here. You can arrange and implement it now." Mr. Huang turned his gaze to Sun Yongming and said, "Yongming, I have already greeted Dean Li of the Procuratorate and asked them to give a anti-corruption class to all the personnel of our project participating units. Please report to Mr. Lu Sheng of the group and ask him to assist. Once the time is confirmed, let me know." Sun Yongming said, "Okay, I've taken note." Mr. Huang said to Qian Jiangwo, "There are 2 more things to do for Jiangwo. Firstly, we need to establish a project safety production responsibility system as soon as possible. Secondly, Yongming is currently establishing a management company. Could you please assist us?" Sun Yongming could see that when Mr. Huang spoke to Qian Jiangwo, there seemed to be a kind of respect, which seemed to be very slight. Without careful observation or taste, one could not feel it at all. Chapter 10. Dumplings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qian Jiangwo said, "Establishing a company is a very troublesome thing, but it can be roughly divided into 3 parts. First, going through the registration procedures with the industrial and commercial authorities. Second, the scope of business operations. Third, the company's organizational structure and salary system. Of course, there are many details in this, and some of the work is very specific, so it is definitely not something that one person can handle. Huang Ziyuan looked at Qian Jiangwo and said to Sun Yongming, "You can discuss these specific matters with Jiangwo in more detail." Sun Yongming saw that Mr. Huang seemed to be about to end the conversation and open the door to see off the guests, while he wanted Mr. Huang to help him ask Song Jinxiang about those 4 people. It seems that he can't do it today. Sun Yongming asked Qian Jiangwo, "Qian Chu, can we meet again later?" Qian Jiangwo said in a loud voice, "It's not a problem. It's difficult to establish a company, but as long as you smooth it out, it will be easy. I can find a temporary helper to help you run errands." Qian Jiangwo didn't come to Tsinghua Group for a few days, but he was able to quickly open up the situation and gain recognition from his colleagues, and the effort was indeed remarkable. Sun Yongming thanked him and said, "Thank you very much. Now I have confidence in my heart." Qian Jiangwo picked up the phone, found a phone number, and dialed it. In an almost imperative tone, he said, "Zhao Ming, is Xiaoyang still on your side?" "Oh, okay, then, since he's on your side, let's borrow it for a period of time, about 3 months, and you let her come to me." "Okay, let's do this for now. Goodbye." Qian Jiangwo turned to Sun Yongming and said, "Xiaoyang's name is Liang Lin. He is very familiar with the company's procedures. When he comes to me, I will contact you." Huang Ziyuan felt a lot more at ease when he saw that the matter was almost settled. He said to the 2 of them, "Take your time to discuss. I have other matters to attend to, and you should push forward the tasks I have arranged." Huang Ziyuan said to Qian Jiangwo, "Jiangwo, how is the earthwork project going?" "Yongming's assistant is still in the hospital." Qian Jiangwo replied, "The earthwork team of Hujian was originally empty shells and did not have their own transport vehicles. Tang San, also known as Tang Xianyun, was not clean himself. He had been criminally detained before, but after coming out, he restrained himself. In the past 2 years, he saw an opportunity and wanted to continue to recruit workers through improper means, and he was very arrogant." Sun Yongming sighed and said, "The main thing is to smooth out the contracting relationship, such as leveling the ground or directly selecting teams and signing agreements with them, so that management is more effective." Qian Jiangwo said, "If we want to directly contract the project ourselves, the threshold we set must have a certain height, and the reasonable conditions that we should propose cannot be omitted." Huang Ziyuan smiled and said, "What you said is very reasonable. We are currently cooperating with the district, and some things also need to take care of the overall situation. For example, Minister Li of the district mentioned to me that the village team is highly recognized by them, and considering their contributions, they also need to be taken care of appropriately." Add. Of course, this is not contradictory to the contracting relationship. You can study it specifically, and I hope the earthwork project can proceed smoothly. Qian Jiangwo said, "From the current actual situation, the rules of earthwork engineering should be well established. Regardless of which unit, not following the rules to work is troublesome." Sun Yongming said, "Tang Xianyun has made a lot of changes in recent years, and I rarely hear any negative news about him. If I can do this job this time, I need to ask Hujian about the situation. Hujian won't just outsource it without investigation, right?" Huang Ziyuan said, "I hope there's no problem. If there are any problems, it will bring trouble to our work." Qian Jiangwo said, "Let's first investigate how the construction of the lake was decided." Huang Ziyuan originally intended to leave early for a while, but the conversation dragged on. He said to the 2 of them, "That's all for today. You should also pay attention to rest." The big curtain fell at night, and the street lights lit up. It was a bit cold at night. Looking at the scenery outside the window, Huang Ziyuan tried to make his mind stop thinking about work, but in 3 or 2 turns, he turned back to work. When he returned home, his wife was watching TV, waiting for him to go home and make dumplings. The caring eyes of the couple at home became clearer, and just one glance showed whether they had eaten or not, whether they were tired or not. When the steaming dumplings were served on the table, the couple's feelings seemed to intensify in the thick steam.